Despite the buzz and controversy surrounding this game, does Assassin's Creed Shadows live up to the legacy of the Assassin's Creed franchise? Let's explore it. This video is a little review and my opinions about Assassin's Creed Shadows after having played it for over 30 plus hours. On release, the Steam reviews were mixed. However, the further that time passes and the more people actually play it, it is increasing now and up to a very positive review based on over 11,000 opinions. Since that is an upgoing trend, I would say that is a very good sign. On Metacritic, Assassin's Creed Shadows sits on an 81 score based on critic reviews and a 6.0 average rating from users based on 3,000 votes. And I gotta say, it is moving up here as well, because last night when I was checking, it was at 5.9, so it's gonna be interesting to see where it lands with a bit more reviews. Maybe it's gonna do the same journey as it did on Steam, where it went from mixed reviews to very positive. So as you can see, there are different opinions. That's completely natural. What I do like to see is that upgoing trend. The more people play it, the more people seem to appreciate it. The game has also been confirmed to surpass Origins and Odyssey in launch numbers, which have been two really successful titles for the franchise. The game introduces us to two protagonists and their unique playstyles. I enjoy stealth the most, so I mostly play as Naui, the assassin or shinobi. But sometimes you just want to go in guns blazing and just smash things and, I don't know, brute force it. And at that point, it's really satisfying to play with Yasuke as well. I would like to say that I feel like they nailed the way that the dual character operates. The fact that it's so easy to switch between the characters, and it doesn't punish you if you purely focus on one character because they kind of level together, you know? It's a unanimous level, and I feel like that's a really good system. So compared to games like Valhalla, where you kind of had to choose a style and run with it and build your style based on what weapons you used or what talents and abilities you picked, in this case, I feel like it's more back to the original Assassin's Creed, but the game offers you a chance to go for that more brute strength version with Yasuke without having to fiddle around a lot with gear or abilities or anything like that. And I do think it's really well made. If you don't like either of the playstyles, you could actually stick to playing that one character you do like. Now it has, I think, a couple of hours of storyline that you need to push through in the beginning if you would only like to play with Yasuke. But Yasuke, I think the minimum amount of time you could play with him is probably like 20 minutes or something. Besides that, you're free to choose whichever character you want to play. Some players think that the game is too forgiving. They might be comparing it to or expecting something along the lines of Sekiro. And I would say that I am personally not disappointed. I'm actually positively surprised. I feel like the combat and especially the stealth is a step up from the previous Assassin's Creed games. If you're looking for a Dark Souls kind of combat style, then this is probably not your go-to game for that. I would still say that the combat is very satisfying with parries and dodges and different abilities like that. So I would say the combat is really good, but you need to beware of what you're expecting in the first place. The game has different difficulty levels, and depending on your preference, you can obviously go from easy to hard, but still, the hardest mode isn't going to turn the game into a Sekiro kind game where you have to be super duper mega careful about every single step that you make, because otherwise it's super punishing and you die and you have to start over. It's not like that. This game is a typical Assassin's Creed open world storyline game where you have satisfying combat in it. I do think that the style within the entire Assassin's Creed franchise, and especially Assassin's Creed Shadows, is more targeted toward the mainstream gamer and not a super high-skilled, complicated player. But I will say that the hard mode in this game is actually quite difficult. You cannot go attacking too high-leveled enemies. You have to be mindful of your gear, your abilities. You need to keep upgrading and stay up to date, because if you don't, it will be punishing and you are gonna die. Does the game get repetitive? I want to start out by saying, how many games with over 100 hours content doesn't have some level of repetition? I personally don't know any out there that do. Maybe you guys do. Then leave a comment and we'll see what it is. Essentially, there needs to be some sort of repetition, some sort of grinding, some sort of, progression system. I do not think that this game feels repetitive after 30 hours. Who knows where I'm going to be after 50, 60, or 80 hours. But for now, at 30, it is not repetitive at all, which is good value for the money in my opinion. There's a couple of elements that does this. First and foremost, the seasons. The fact that they do have seasons in the game makes it so that you need to change up your playstyle a little bit depending on what season it is. You cannot use the same strategies for stealth or approaching a mission because the environment is going to shift significantly, including like changing the obstacles or your possible methods of getting to your end goal. And that causes you to think a little, which I appreciate. I also feel like the storyline is very interesting and it's got very good side quests and side stories with these allies and different side components that somehow feel part of the main story but aren't necessarily mandatory to be able to finish the game. And I do think that they add another layer of variation to the game. There's one thing that can get a little bit repetitive, and that is the fact that in order to unlock your abilities, you need to gather knowledge points. Those knowledge points are basically different locations like temples around the map. And in order to achieve those or collect those knowledge points, you need to go to that location and basically loot 3 items. It's pretty standard, but I also don't really mind it because once again, there needs to be some sort of grind to the game, right? Like something that has a progression level, something that you can easily pick up and do to improve your character. And I gotta say, it is a simple system. So I like it at the end of the day. There are also these meditation spots where you need to sit down, click certain buttons in a certain order and with specific timing in order to succeed. And I do think that those are also pretty interesting. Yaska, on the other hand, he has these combinations, like fighting combos, where you need to click a certain set of buttons in order to progress and improve. So even with that, I do feel like it's not just one way for everything, but there are a few different options to progress and improve / grind for your character. But I also want to point out that as much as I absolutely love other Assassin's Creed titles like Black Flag, etc., I mean, the amount of depth that you have in this game is next level. The amount of areas, environments, different climates, and just nature, the amount of quests, the amount of side activities and small little features like painting animals and improving your hideout or whatever it is. This game has so much depth compared to previous Assassin's Creed games. And I do think it is a huge improvement from the previous games, even if I absolutely love the previous ones, which to me is a very, very good rating. So what are things that I really love about Assassin's Creed Shadows? One thing that I noticed quickly was the attention to detail, such as when you cut barrels with your katana, it's actually going to slice the barrel in the position where your sword lands. And that is a really cool feature that you don't see in a lot of games nowadays. They basically just break on impact randomly. But in this case, you can actually see that what you do has specific impact, and I love that. Or for instance, that when you step into a blood puddle and walk out on the other side, there's actually going to be footprints in blood on the ground. That is also another really cool detail. Or another one, when you're hiding in bushes, do not swing your katana or your weapon because the bushes are going to break and you are going to remove the entire hiding place of where you're currently at. I've done this a few times on accident by either misclicking or fighting someone without assassinating them too close to my bush, and all of a sudden I am left without a place to hide. That is actually a really, really cool detail. I also want to bring up the seasons again because I love them for 2 reasons. One of them being that you need to change up your playstyle based on which season it is in order to adapt. But the other one is also that it's visually appealing. It actually feels like you're in a different environment, kind of like where I live in the real world, in Sweden. We've got all these seasons. It does vastly change depending on what season it is, and it's always fresh and fun to see a new season after you've been stuck in the previous season for a while. So I do like that. That is an element that actually makes the game feel fresh even after 30+ hours. I feel like the movement is really, really smooth, and so is fighting. It's definitely a step up from the previous Assassin's Creed titles. I have not been playing with immersive mode, in other words, the Japanese mode, where they use their Japanese voices for those who speak Japanese and Portuguese for those who speak Portuguese. Because since I play the game and stream at the same time, I want to be able to read chat while listening to conversations that are ongoing in cutscenes or outside of cutscenes. So that is why I have opted out for that. But I have heard very, very good things about it. If you like immersive mode in general, then I would recommend giving it a try, as I've heard that it really heightens the experience. I also appreciate the variety in playstyle that the different weapons offer. For instance, the katana, a bit more damage, still relatively fast though. And then you've got the tanto, which deals less damage, but way faster. And thirdly, you got the kusarigama, which offers you some distance if you do not want to be standing right in front of them and you want to keep a little bit more ranged version, then that is your weapon. Since I am mostly playing on Naui, I haven't gone too much in detail about different options for Yasuke, but I think he probably has some as well. Whether you want to follow questline, explore the world, grind loot, achievements, or weapons, whatever it might be, I do feel like the game has something for everyone. And I would also like to add that it's a really, really good sign for me when I'm trying to stick to doing one mission, but I constantly get sidetracked for hours because I just run into something else that I really want to do. You know, I'm trying to follow this main story mission, but then I'm like, oh, what's this over here? Oh, what's this over here? Oh, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what was I doing in the first place? And that, to me, is a fantastic rating because that means I'm so immersed in the game, I can't even keep focused because there's just so much things I want to do. I don't know if that's just me, but I love it. It's a very good sign for me, at least. At the end of the day, we all have different opinions, and that is completely fine. If you're a Dark Souls fan, you might find that the game is a little bit too forgiving. That doesn't mean I think you should count it out, because it is essentially a different category of games, and I do think it is fantastic. If you go in with the mindset that you're expecting an open world storyline game with satisfying combat and interesting story, then I don't think you're going to be dissatisfied. I wholeheartedly recommend this game as it is fantastic. And once again, that is not a paid opinion. I genuinely love it. And if you are scared to commit to the full price of the game, which I completely understand because games nowadays are quite expensive, you can also find it included in Ubisoft's subscription service for a small fee, meaning that if you have enough time in a month, then you can use the subscription, get access to the entire game library, including Assassin's Creed Shadows, give it a try, or even, hell, play through it if you grind it real fast. And then you've spent a lot less money than the full price. I hope that this can create a good basis for whether or not you want to give the game a try. If you do, I hope you enjoy it. And if you don't, then that's completely fine as well. But if you do try it, please leave a comment in the description letting me know what you think about it, because I want to know what you guys actually thought. That was it for this video. I hope you got some useful information whether or not you decide to buy the game. I hope you will enjoy it if you do. Check out my other recommended videos for you and leave a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel. But of course, you can always find me on Twitch, which is my main platform. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!